Come on, got the Ceann Comhairle. I thought you probably hadn't seen me. I'm so slight, you know what I mean? I just want to start by saying that this feels a bit like Groundhog Day for this statutory instrument and indeed for the EU Common Fisheries Policy. And I'm unsure what's changed here since the High Court and the Supreme Court struck down this statutory instrument, or indeed what has changed since Fianna Fáil and their coastal representative voted this down in 2018 in a declaration of support for our fishing communities. But let me say from this side, we do support this motion and believe that the statutory instrument is a blunt instrument which is discriminatory and unjustifiable in its application. If it was wrong in 2016, 2017 and 2018, it's wrong now. Fishing communities around the country are right to be outraged and to feel betrayed by Fianna Fáil and the Taoiseach over this. But that doesn't mean that we are opposed to the regulation of the fishing industry. It doesn't mean that we oppose quotas for saving the world's ocean from environmental collapse. I'm in favour of a quota system, and I'm well aware that fishing and the way the quota systems work go well beyond what science and nature tells us is unsustainable and is leading to the ruination and devastation of ocean life. I'm also aware that we constantly set quotas above what science tells us is sustainable. The truth is that the EU Common Fisheries Policy, to which this statutory instrument is attached, is not protecting fish stocks or the greater biodiversity of our oceans. There is a crisis, and there has been a crisis in our fishing communities. There's a crisis in our oceans, and both are a byproduct of the greater crisis on this planet. When people say that the EU fishing policy has decimated our fishing communities, they're often derided by economists who say, look at the stats, and then they tell us we've more people employed, we've greater tonnage of fish catch, and we've exported more wealth generated by the fishing industry than we did before we entered the European Union. The reality is that behind those stats, the type of employment has changed for the worse. The ability of fishing communities to survive and thrive has changed for the worst, and the sustainability of fishing fleets and methods have all changed for the worst. The crisis in fishing is a symptom of a global crisis in our environment, a crisis driven by the same reason and the same basis, the production for profit, regardless of its impact on nature or on human beings. The interests of large agri and food business corporations drive the unsustainable extraction of Earth's wealth and resources, while the interests of the giant oil and gas corporations drive the heating of the globe and the acidification of our oceans. The European Union policy fits into this matrix, despite its claims to the contrary. This debate is not whether you support a system of regulation to protect fish stocks or you don't. It's about whether you stand with the small fishing communities or that you want to pretend that a system of penalty points and unaccountable authority will save the world's ocean. It will not. It will in fact accelerate the trends of driving smaller fishing communities out of business and stacking cards in favour of the mega trawlers and the giant agri-food industry. We support the motion.